Lisa, and I am the Scrappy Wife behind scrappywife.com, and today I have a Bible journaling process video for you. I'm going to be recording some sermon notes in the book of Luke, and I am planning on using some scrapbooking elements, mostly from Felicity Jane. This is one of Felicity Jane's vellum pockets. I have a few scrap papers here from their more recent kits for Christmas, and then I also have these gorgeous stamp sets from By the Well for God, a present, and then Redemption Unwrapped. And I have the Felicity Jane Noel stamp set that I am planning on using. So I will put you all on fast forward. All the supplies that I use that I can find online, I will link below. Otherwise, I'll see you at the end. Let's go. I'll start off by clearing everything off my desk, moving it to the side, and I'm going to spread out my papers. I'm going to be doing some embossing elements. I have some different stamp sets that I showed you earlier. I'm using VersaFine Onyx Black ink. It's not specifically meant for embossing. It's not a sticky ink, but I like being able to see the lines underneath my embossing. I do have a clear embossing ink pad, and it does work very well. I like it. It's a Ranger brand. But in this case, I really wanted to be able to see my lines clearly as I work through. Embossing powders are so much fun, especially this time of year. These are glitter embossing powders. I'm going to be using a gold one and a silver one. All you do is immediately after you stamp, you sprinkle the powder over the top of the stamped image. It will stick to whatever is wet, which is generally why you don't want to use a fast drying ink. Then you tap off all of the excess. You saw me tap it off onto that yellow paper and move it to the side. Then you heat up the embossed image that is now covered with the powder. And when you do that, it starts to melt and kind of meld together and makes a very cool kind of image. The embossing powders that I'm using are specifically glitter embossing powders, so it doesn't necessarily melt into a completely solid image, if that makes sense. It's not metallic. It does have glitter mixed in, but especially during this December, during this holiday time of the year, I want to glitter all of the things. So I love using this embossing powder. It probably gets its most use during the month of December. There are, of course, a lot of different ways to add metallics to your projects this time of year. Embossing is one of my favorites. I also am really enjoying the We Are Memory Keepers foil pens. The freestyle pens are a fantastic way to add metallics to your project. There's also lines of metallic markers. I know Jane Davenport has a line that I've used many times that are kind of like a paint pen line that will add metallic. And then there are some foil papers that you can use with pens, like a glue pen, and the foiling works with sticky glue, and that's another way that you can add just some of those foiling details to your projects. At this point, I've stamped all my present images and I've embossed them in gold and in silver, and I'm going to fussy cut them out in super speed so you don't have to just watch me fussy cut, to use as elements on my page to kind of surround that vellum pocket. Love, love, love the red, white, and black look. Originally, I was just going to have that vellum pocket kind of floating on the page with the presents around it, but it felt a little bit awkward to me. So I decided I really wanted to ground that on the paper, and I'm going to use that with some other scraps of paper. So I have this candy cane print that is from Felicity Jane, and then this torn piece of buffalo plaid, also from Felicity Jane, that I'm going to use kind of as the anchor for where that vellum pocket can kind of sit and those presents can gather around the pocket. As you watch me kind of fuss around with some of the elements on the page, let me share a little bit about what the sermon was about. It was focused on Zechariah, and in the passage of Luke 1:57 through 79, where Zechariah loses his voice, or the angel takes away his voice when he is in the temple and he gets the news that he is to have a son, and he questions. And the focus was not that he loses his voice because he doubts, but he loses his voice because he lost his hope. And when he lost his hope, he lost his ability to kind of spread the good news about God, and he regains his voice when his hope comes back. And so in our sermon, we talked a lot about finding your voice, finding your Christmas voice, and finding the courage to just spread hope around to those who are around you all the time, and to find your own voice. So you can see I'm using my Felicity Jane stamp set. This is some stars from the Noel stamp set, and I'm just kind of creating a few stars in the background. I'll have lots of die cuts kind of grouped over the top of these, and I like to use stamps to kind of ground and add a little bit more detail to my page. One of my goals in the upcoming year is to really just try to use my stamps more. They are a wonderful resource. We invest a lot in stamp sets, and sometimes I just use them for a kit or two kits, and I really want to try to use them a lot more in a lot of my art projects. Here I'm placing this vellum card down. I love this card. It's so sweet because the Christmas tree that's on the front, you can't tell on video, but it is actually flocked, which means it has a cool soft texture to it, which I think is just another great detail. I'm loving the details that Felicity Jane includes in their kits. Just all of the elements have that extra step, that extra little bit that really sets it apart, and I've really been enjoying using the Noel kit this holiday season. Here I decided to cut apart that one last present grouping so I have some smaller presents to work with, and then I'm just going to kind of play with the placement. Originally I intended to have all of the presents grouped around the tree, kind of in the traditional Christmas format, and then I think, well, maybe I'll pull them down and maybe I'll mess around with them. So it's fun to have the stamped images separate on these separate sheets of beautiful cardstock so that I can play around and I can move things as I see fit. When you stamp it straight onto your page, of course, you are stuck with where you stamped it, and so it's fun to kind of change it up and put it on separate pieces sometimes so that you can play with the placement. I finally decide on the final placement, and what I really like about this arrangement is that it is in groups of 3, meaning there's 3 places where presents are on the page, and I'll be able to use that top present that is in the black and white polka dots and gold up there as my tag, because I really wasn't sure what I was going to use to mark this page because I don't have a lot of red ribbon, and I kind of wanted to change it up from just using ribbon tabs, so I will get set with that up there. I grab one of the staples from By the Well for God. This is their black and white set. It's called This and That, and they have a whole set of just black and white elements, and I use these all of the time. It's so great to just have a huge set of black and white alphas that you can go to. Those are the colors I use most often, and I'm titling my page Find Your Voice. I kind of debated whether I was going to add a title to my tab, but I ended up wanting to go ahead and highlight the part of the Christmas story that this was, so I will use this washi grid to kind of give my present a place to rest, and then I decide, well, I want to bring it down below too, just to make a more cohesive look. So I have to peel up my presents just really carefully, peel them up and add that washi tape underneath. Again, bringing an element from the top to the bottom just so that the whole entry has a cohesive feel. I am loving the black, white, and red. I'm using it a lot in my December daily album, and so it was fun to bring it into my Bible as well. I take that little scrap of washi and use it. It's not actually holding down the vellum pocket, but it kind of gives that impression, which just lends itself to a more handmade look, which I really like. I take my favorite tiny alpha stickers from Tim Holtz, and I'm going to add the title of Zechariah here just so that I know which part of the Christmas story that this page is referring to, and that way that title will stick up the top of my Bible and I will be able to flip straight to this page. As I finish up that tab, I will adhere it to the top of the page over top that grid washi, and then off camera I did add journaling to that red note card, and I wrote out my 3 main takeaways from the sermon, which were: Zechariah lost his voice when he could not proclaim hope, then Zechariah found his voice when he saw the hope of Christ, and to find the hope of Christ is to find your Christmas voice. One of the last steps that I do on most pages is adding the date, and I thought I would use the mega date stamp from Studio Calico, but it was just too big. You saw me practice on the yellow paper, and so I ended up grabbing a smaller one from Heidi Swap, adding a few dates, and that page is almost done. I just want to add a little embellishment to my journaling card right here, and I'm going to use these sweet Christmas trees from the Felicity Jane stamp set, add them to the corner, and then that will be that. Thank you so much for taking the time to watch this video. Journaling through the Advent season is one of my favorite things to do all year long. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and consider hitting that subscribe button as well as that bell notification button. I hope you have a fabulous day, and as always, keep it creative.